بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما وارزقنا فهما ربي يسر ولا تؤسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا عليم يا عليم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أنس رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين متفق عليه. أنس رضي الله عنه narrates Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, none of you believes until uh, uh, I become more beloved to him than his parents and his children and the entire human creation. This is the riwayat.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Narrated from Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that none of you people believe until I become more beloved to you than your father or the children, more than his father and his children and to mankind in total, right? So love is of two types. Love is of two types. One is natural love and the other one is intellectual love. Tabi'i love and ikhtiyari love. Right? The first one is that between a father and a child. It is natural and it's a quality of a person for a father to love the child and for the child to love the father. It doesn't have anything to do with intellect. A person doesn't have to use his brain to love his father, or a father doesn't have to use his brain. Naturally, when a child is born, he loves the child. And as the child is growing up, naturally he loves the father. So that is natural love. And then the other one is the ikhtiyari love, the intellectual love. That is not influenced by natural feeling. It's not something that you have natural love for. It's something that you have to love. You have to bring that love into you. It's built. You have to desire that love. You have to create that love inside you. So you need something external, not like it's not like a patient that is craving medicine. You know, when a person is sick, when you have a leg ache or a headache, naturally you want to take a Panado or a still pain because you have that natural craving. But now the ikhtiyari love is something that you have to build inside you. It's not something that comes naturally. So it's not like a patient that needs medicine. You have to create that love in him. So this hadith calls for the intellectual love for Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You must bring this love into you. You have to try to desire and create this love into you. And there's a story of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu that when he heard this hadith, then he said to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "O Nabi of Allah, you are dearer to me than everything in the world except my own self. You are most beloved to me except my own self." So then Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied to him that no, that you have not perfected your belief until I'm more beloved to you than yourself also. I must be more beloved to you than your own self. Then Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, at that moment he said, "Oh Nabi of Allah, I love you more than myself also." And he meant it. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that now you have perfected your iman. So when it says la yu'minu ahadakum, that he does not believe, it doesn't mean it means he has not perfected his belief. Then there's another story of an Ansari woman during the battle of Uhud. So she lost her husband, her father, and a brother. She lost her husband, her father, and a brother in the battle. And when she heard of this news, first thing she asked is, "How is the condition of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" So when she found out that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was fine, then she said, "Any calamity after it is fine." That even her husband, her father, and her brother, three male relatives close to her, she lost. But because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was fine, she was fine. So that is where the example of where they brought the love for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam over everything else. Then there's a one man came to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said that, "O Nabi of Allah, you are dearer to me than my family and my wealth. When I remember you, I cannot wait until I see you. And when I come home, my eyes are cooled on seeing you. When I come here to you, my eyes are cooled when I see you. But now I'm worried after your death, you shall be with the other Anbiya alayhi salam. How will I be able to see you? At that moment, the verse of Surah Nisa was revealed. وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِم مِّنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Whoever obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the messenger, they are with those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed, of the Anbiya, the truthful, the martyrs, the righteous, and the excellent what an excellent company. Meaning that if you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you obey Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then you will meet them also in the year after. So the man was comforted like this. And then there was another, this is how Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam conveyed the glad tidings to him. Then there was another story of Abdullah bin Zayd ibn Abi Rabah. He was known as Sahibi Adan. So he was in his garden attending to his garden when his son came to him and conveyed to him the news of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passing away. And then he raised his hands up and he said, "Oh Allah, this eyes that used to see Nabi, that used to shine bright because of seeing Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, take the sight away because it won't be able to see Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam anymore." So these are examples where the Sahaba showed how they loved Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than anything else. So this is the ikhtiyari love that we have to create within ourselves to perfect our iman.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثلاث من كنا فيه وجد بهن حلاوة الإيمان من كان الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما ومن أحب عبدا لا يحبه إلا الله ومن يكره أن يعود في الكفر بعد أن أنقذه الله منه كما يكره أن يلقى في النار متفق عليه.
Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala also narrated that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said there are three things which if they are in anyone, you will find the sweetness of iman. The first is he to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger are dearer than anything else besides them. The second is he who loves another only because of his love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third, he who hates to return to disbelief after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had brought him out of disbelief, just as he hates to be cast into a fire. He who hates to return to disbelief after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought him into Iman, just like how he hates to be cast into a fire. Nobody wants to be cast into a fire. So just like how he hates to be cast into a fire, he hates disbelief. Yeah. So this perfect Iman demands of the faithful that the heart should be filled completely with love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so that the rest of the world means nothing before him. We must love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much that the rest of the world is nothing to him. A believer loves and hates anyone only and solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each of his deeds is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he loves and he hates also only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iman and Islam should drive out of his heart, even if the thought of disbelief, and he mustn't even have the thought of disbelief and shirk in his heart. Iman and Islam should drive it out completely from his heart. These are three things that are found in the possessor of Iman, who alone deserves the reward for it.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن العباس بن عبد المطلب رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تطعم الإيمان من رضى بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. رواه مسلم. ابن عباس عن عباس بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه said that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, the one who is pleased with Allah as his Rabb, Islam as his deen, and Muhammad as the messenger, then he has tasted the sweetness of Iman.
So our hearts and minds should not be burdened with any what iman. It should not be, it shouldn't be like a burden to us. It should be peaceful. There shouldn't be an iota of doubting it. It shouldn't be like we are thinking that this is a burden on us. It should be complete. There shouldn't be any sign of unwillingness. It must burst out with the love. Then we will taste the sweetness of iman.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والذي نفس محمد بيده لا يسمع بي أحد من هذه الأمة يهودي ولا نصري ثم يموت ولم يؤمن بالذي أرسلت به إلا كان من أصحاب النار. رواه مسلم.
Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, by him in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, every one of these people, whether it is a Jew or Christian, who hears of me but dies without believing in that which I am sent, will be one of the dwellers of the fire. One of the dwellers of the fire. So Islam is a universal religion and a universal law that everyone in the world must obey. Similarly, the mission of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a universal and international message for every age and every people without exception. Hence, it is equally fard on everyone to believe and to abide by Sharia, even the Jews and the Christians. This hadith mentions the Jews and Christians who had received the divine book before and were expected to embrace Islam. They were expected to embrace Islam and to obey Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the last messenger. Given that, how can they who had no heavenly book, meaning the mushriks, how can they who had no heavenly book hope to gain freedom from the fire without believing in the last messenger? More so, the Jews and the Christians claim that as they were believers in the review book, they had received salvation because they believed in the previous books. They already received salvation and had no need to embrace Islam. This hadith rejects that claim and it asserts that all previous Sharia stands as abrogated, mansukh. They were all mansukh when Islam came. Although they were correct religions at that time, when Islam came, they were all abrogated, they were all mansukh, and everyone had to believe in Islam. And the last and final messenger to be Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Islam to be the last religion.
وعن أبي موسى الأشعري رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثلاثة لهم أجران رجل من أهل الكتاب آمن بنبيه وآمن بمحمد والعبد المملوك إذا أدى حق الله وحق مواليه ورجل كانت عنده أمة يطئها أدبها فأحسن تأديبها وعلمها فأحسن تعليمها ثم أعتقها فتزوجها وله أجران متفق عليه. مسعود الأشعري رضي الله عنه says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, three people, for them is two rewards. A man from the people of the book who believes in his prophet and he believes in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a slave and a own slave when he fulfills the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the right of his master, and a man who by him is a slave girl and he has relations with her and he teaches her he teaches her and makes her the best of these are the best of teaching and he teaches her to be good and he makes her the best of character and he teaches her and is the best of teaching and he sets her free and he marries her.
So these three persons, they will earn twofold rewards. The first category is the people who believed and followed their prophets, their messengers at that time. Sincerely, they followed sincerely. They never just they really followed the religion and the prophet of that time. And then that was until the coming of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, they had no hesitation in switching over to him. So they followed the religion and their book sincerely, and then when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, automatically they switched over to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam without any hesitation. So they will get twofold rewards. You see, all of the religions, Islam accepts all of the religions, right? Islam is based on accepting and not rejection. Islam is based on accepting and not rejecting. So Islam accepts. Islam doesn't belittle any of the previous religions or the prophets. At that time, it was the correct religion with the correct prophets, right? So when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, then you have to switch over. So it doesn't belittle any of the prophets and confirms all of the heavenly books and all of the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In contrast, every other religion requires its adherents to reject all the religions other than itself. So the other religions make you reject all other religion and only accept its own religion. While Islam confirms the Anbiya, the prophets, before that. Islam makes it binding upon its followers to confirm that all the messengers sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were guides to the people. So from Adam alayhi salam, all of them were guides to the people, and that's why we have to accept them. This hadith also says that the previous belief of those people will not go in vain. So when they believed at that time, they will get the reward for that time. And now that they moved over and they have accepted Islam, they will get a separate reward. So they accepted the religion at that time, so they got one reward. And now immediately they accepted Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they moved over, so they will get a second reward. On the other hand, if they accepted the religion at that time, then they reject the religion at this time, then that reward will go in vain. That reward will go in vain because part of believing at that time was to accept this time. So they get no reward for both times. Whereas if they accepted at that time and they accepted Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they get two rewards because part of accepting that time was also to accept this time. So they get both rewards. But when they reject the second time, they lose out on the first time also. The Ahli Kitab. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because they never accept Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever rejected Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it will follow. Or they get the double reward. Yeah, if they were staunch Christians, proper Christians, maybe they never believe in Trinity also. They will make shirk. As for the slaves, the second part, the slaves, right? Islam requires a slave to be faithful and dutiful to a master. So she's faithful to a master and she's dutiful to a master. Then she will get two rewards. She will get a reward for obedience and loyalty to the master and obedience and loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She fulfills the duties of a master and she fulfills the duties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a double reward. The third man raises a female slave to the level of honorable woman in society. So a slave generally, a slave woman, slave lady in society is the lowest. And when you marry her, you raise her to the highest level. So when he marries a slave girl, he frees her and he marries her, he has now given her honor. He's taken her out of that low level and he's made her honorable lady. That's why he will get double reward for that reward, right? So Sheikh Abdul Haq Muhaddid Dehlawi rahimullah said that the dual rewards mean every deed will get a double reward. Every single deed. So like when a person reads Quran for every letter, is 10 rewards. So for when he reads Quran, for every letter he'll get 20 rewards. For every single deed that he does, he'll get double. So for like how if for anything he does that he gets 10, he will now be getting 20. And then if once it comes to Ramadan, it will be even multiplied not the 10 will be multiplied, the 20 will be multiplied. Inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة فإذا فعلوا ذلك عصموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم إلا بحق الإسلام وحسابهم على الله متفق عليه إلا أن مسلما لم يذكر إلا بحق الإسلام.
Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I've been commanded to fight the people till they testify that there is no worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the messenger, and they establish salah, they pay the zakah. Thus, when they do this, if they do this, they have my protection for their life and their property, except for the right of Islam, and their reckoning is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the owner and king of this world and the universe. Hence, the people of his creation are bound to obey him and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah's commands should be allowed to live in his land. No one should be permitted to cause dissension in the Islamic land. Nobody's there to create mischief in the Islamic lands. Those who refuse to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and sovereignty should be fought against. When they refuse to accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they should be fought against, as any government does under its constitution. When you're living in the land and you don't accept the land's constitution, then the government will fight against you. You can't live in a land without accepting the land's constitution. So that's how Islam is, right? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says here that he is commanded to fight against the enemies of Islam until they cease to rebel and antagonize the Muslims, right? And to obtain the rights to reside in Islamic society, there's one of two ways. One way they can get the rights is to give up the disbelief and opposition and just accept Islam sincerely, proving thus what they did. So not just accepting Islam by qawli. You must accept Islam by qawli and fi'li. You must do your actions also, right? And the other choice, not mentioned here, but the other choice mentioned elsewhere, is that they should accept paying the jizya. They're going to live as a dhimmi in a land. They're going to dhimmi. But they will still live by the rules of Islam. They will live by the rules of the Sharia. They won't be a Muslim, but they won't be able to drink in public and stuff like that. But they will pay protection fees, jizya, right? And they will still be binded by the laws of Sharia in regards to if they steal, then their hand will be chopped off. They're not Muslim, but they will be still living in there, right?
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى صلاتنا استقبل قبلتنا وأكل ذبيحتنا وذلك المسلم الذي له ذمة الله وذمة رسوله فلا تخطر الله في ذمته. رواه البخاري. Nasir radiallahu anhu narrates Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Whoever performs our salah and faces our qibla, and he eats from that which from our slaughtering, and that is a Muslim, and him is the protection of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not deceive with regards to his protection." Bukhari.
So while Iman is truly a confirmation within the heart, Iman is truly a confirmation within the heart. It is an inward condition. So too, the oral declaration is significant. But distinction between any two religions lies in their symbols. Distinction between any two religions lies in the symbols. So a person can't say if you see a person going to the masjid and he's performing salah and it's Ramadan time and he's fasting and you see him giving zakah and you see him dressed like a Muslim, what does that tell you? He's a Muslim. Right? So while his Iman is inside his heart, sometimes we cannot see it, but when he's doing the actions of a Muslim, what does it show you? That he is a Muslim. So the actions of Islam are mentioned in this hadith and are more practical than those of other religions. So when you see somebody doing these actions, he's eating, he goes to the butcher and he asks for halal meat. He sees that the butcher doesn't sell halal meat, so he moves away. So that automatically shows you that he's a Muslim. Why would he want halal meat? He comes to the masjid, not only for Jummah, he comes for all salahs for the masjid. You see him coming to the masjid. Or even if he just comes for Jummah, a person, if he's not a Muslim, will he come for Jummah? He won't come. So when you see these actions, then that is a sign of his Iman, that he is a Muslim.